She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Sports can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Advice, did you know that Arsenal died?
These got me buzzing.
Up the TOFFEEs. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm gonna comment on that.
Welcome back to Footy with the boys. Big talking points today. Nick, your Arsenal versus Manchester City, of course. We'll get into the Everton Toffees as always. And another disappointing weekend, as always, for Everton. We'll run you through the rest of the Premier League, keep you updated on how everybody's doing, what games caught our eyes before we get into the US men's national team corner, which is packed this week. A lot of success for some players, and then we'll end it off with our shout out of the week. But Nick, we start with the big news, what's on the screen right now. Arsenal 2, Manchester City 2. It was Erling Haaland early. Arsenal respond with 2 goals of their own. Calafiori with a beauty, and then Gabriel is just too big in the box. Just heads one home. But before the end of the half, it was not just the goal there to give Arsenal the lead. It was also a red card to Trossard, which we will get into. And with 10 men, Arsenal looked like they might get it done until the 90th plus 8th minute. Those 8 minutes of stoppage time are the just absolute Achilles heel of Arsenal. As John Stones gets a last gasp equalizer for Manchester City here. Nick, overall, how are you feeling? 2-2 draw versus Manchester City. Massive matchup. And you share the points.
Cut up, my God, you're such a cock. Jesus Christ. How do I feel? Feel fine. Listen, we came into shut up, Mike. I had like questions prepared for Mike because I feel like I'm being too biased on these podcasts, but now I don't even give a shit about what Mike has to say. This is a conversation between me and Flags. Listen, I went into the week saying point is a good result here. A lot of people out injured. Away at the Etihad versus the best team that maybe the Prem has ever seen. Who knows? And so I said a draw away versus our main title contenders within 2 points, within striking distance, would have been fine. I don't feel fine anymore. I don't feel good. I'm not happy that we ended up dropping the points because I feel a little bit wronged. I feel cheated. I feel like points were taken away from me. I can't take nothing away from the performance. I mean, look, honestly, I think I would have felt better if this game ended, feel better. I know it wouldn't have been better, but if we had lost 1-0 from the Haaland goal, like Arsenal switched off for a second, 2 even teams, Haaland scores, fine. That's the entire game. Okay, I can rationalize that in my head. What I can't rationalize now is the repeated and continued, seemingly targeted referee either corruption or absolute just incompetence. So I am in a bad mental spot, if I am being completely honest. Again, I'm so proud of the boys, showed a lot of fight. I to come back from an 8-minute deficit, the 2 goals that we scored were incredible. And the defending in the second half was incredible. Once again, we show a lot of character. A lot of people have been like, oh, this is a mental win for Arsenal. I don't think so, because I think we've proven that we can be this kind of team. It's just a sucker punch. And again, I feel like I've gone on here a couple of times now and just yelled about the refs. And obviously I'm a biased opinion. So I honestly want to hear from you guys. Let's start actually with Martinelli. The Martinelli, getting down the side because of a quick restart by Arsenal. Trace, I know you saw that. What did you think? Does Kyle Walker and Pep have such a right to be horribly pissed off that play is allowed to go? The way I see it, like it's still a worldie from Calafiori. Martinelli doesn't score. I don't really know what Quam is there, and I also, the ref allowed it to play, so I don't know. But What do you see? Do you think that was a fair goal for Arsenal?
I'll get into that real quick. I think the whole entire match was riddled with controversy. I think the referee did a really poor job managing the tensions and managing the game. And it got out of hand quickly. It led to a lot of makeup calls coming in, inconsistencies, and then just full-on issues where every little decision seems like a major decision because that's what happens in a game of this caliber. For this goal particularly, I didn't think that the referee had indicated play to restart, and the ball was definitely not in the correct position. So I could definitely see a shout from Man City's side. They were switched off, not ready to go. But benefit of the doubt to Arsenal is it doesn't come directly from that. I mean, they have chance to get back into defensive position, and then
He does get back.
fucking worldy. So
Does get back.
right? I mean, yeah, it was a fantastic goal. So I'm glad it stood because that was fucking beautiful.
It was a peach, and I understand honestly. Like if Man City was mad from that, I get that. I still think it's fair. Like he called the captains over, called them back off, and then we continued playing. I don't really know what's wrong. I kept seeing this highlight of like 8 yards on the fucking NBC stream. Why do they only pull out those bullshit measurements when Arsenal are the ones who somehow get like that? Never happens in any other free kick situation.
Man
That
City
happens
metrics,
all
dude.
the time. So it's ridiculous. I think a lot of people are like, okay, it's a worldie. Martinelli didn't score it. A lot of people seem square there. The big one flags is the red card. And Trossard gets, in my opinion, a soft yellow to start. In my opinion, a bad yellow when he made the tackle, which was a foul against Silva, only to find out that is not what the second yellow was for. The second yellow was for delaying a restart. So what did you see there, Flags? I think it's bullshit. I think you all know what I'm going to say about it. Am I insane?
No, you're not insane. I think seeing this, it was what I thought the foul would have been harsh, but I mean, you could see maybe, it's he clatters into the back of Bernardo Silva, and you say, it's really, really, really harsh to call that as a second yellow. And just as generally, I guess I should say, I don't like when a referee takes the game into his hands and creates such a drastic impact. I think the player should play the game. The referee should call what he needs to, but he should not step into the spotlight. He should be forced to step in the spotlight if people are really forcing him to do that. Sending people off should not be so casual on a small foul like that. But being for kicking the ball away, the ball was not close to being restarted. People had not even stopped playing. It was a second later. Trossard, punts the ball away. And if it were like 3 seconds later, or Man City made a grab for the ball trying to play it quick, sure, that's an obvious yellow card, and it's just ridiculously stupid of him. But it wasn't. It was, he's still playing it, and you're in the 8th minute of stoppage time in the first half. Realistically, he's just trying to end the fucking half off of the ball bouncing right in front of him. He punts it away. It's just stupid no matter how you look at it. You could say, you could make some type of argument for a yellow for the foul for punting the ball, but at the end of the day, no matter what, neither of those are close to enough to impact the game like the referee did to completely change the dynamic of a game. And not just a game, but like, let's be completely honest, this is like a title bout. If it's, fucking Everton versus Ipswich Town, and they're both just shit, and it's not really meaning that much. Like, I guess, it's not as big of a deal. But if it's your big money matchup, your title favorites going head to head, don't impact the game. Don't have anybody know your name if you're the ref. Mike, is that too harsh on the ref? But
no, not too harsh at all. I 100% agree with you almost 100% of the time. Referees shouldn't impact the game. They're there to manage the rules, make sure nothing egregious goes on, keep tempers down. That's what they're there to do. They're not supposed to be a star component of the match. And they were today, and they have been through a lot of Premier League games already this season. It's a continuous issue, especially in the Premier League. Other leagues doesn't seem to be as much. And the real issue I have with it is the inconsistencies. Yeah, it could be a soft red card, but we see balls being kicked away earlier in the match with Doku, other times.
Every game it happens.
Yeah, every game.
Why is it only against Arsenal that it's being called?
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't need to be called. It's a discretionary thing. We saw the referee talking from the previous time it happened with Declan Rice. Oh, he's put me in a terrible position. I had nothing to do. Don't do anything. You don't have to make that fucking call. I mean, who cares? At the end of the day, people would be like, wow, Dex got away with one there. And the game goes on. It's not a dangerous play. It's not a hard tackle. It's nothing that needs further review. I hate when those little chippy things happen. And in a game with this kind of intensity, rivalry, that stuff is going to happen. Save those cards for real problematic tackles, for things that impact the game. I mean, I hate it.
I will say
last should be used to calm the game down, and all that does was incite more shit going on.
100%.
Last question for you guys then, because I think Mike nailed it, and then I can give some closing thoughts. But the consistency piece is just so weird to me, because every single explanation that they try to give to us is there's always a counterpoint. It's like, okay, we want a ref that doesn't want to affect the game. Like, let the players decide it. That's what they said after Kovacic should have gone to red last year. Well, I mean, now we're kicking the ball away and it's a red card here. Okay, fine. If you kick the ball away, it's an automatic yellow every time. Then why isn't it happening to Doku or to any other play? Like, it's just, it feels to me, and it's because I'm a fan of Arsenal. So do you guys think that the refs seem to have something against Arsenal? Do you think there's any validity in that? Maybe it's Arteta's so openly critiquing them. Maybe it's a history. Maybe it's blatant corruption. But am I imagining things when I think that it is specifically targeted against Arsenal? And I think we can all agree it's specifically targeted in favor of Man City.
I mean, I think, honestly, tinfoil hat, but as not a fan, I still do see there's a lot that's going up against Arsenal, not in just this game or the Brighton game, but against Wolves as well. Like, literally every single game, we've talked about something that's happening to Arsenal refereeing-wise that's you're scratching your head. I mean, Jesus got assaulted. Havertz as well should have drawn one. There's just a lot going on that aren't being called for Arsenal, or just are asinine by the ref. You just don't understand. So I don't know if there's some greater plan, but it is, I don't know, it is somewhat interesting to see the amount of things happening to Arsenal. It's not just one or two things, but just every game there's something that's objectively bad refereeing against Arsenal. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really inclined to agree with the Man City thing. I think the champions always get the whistle. They always get benefit of the doubt. It happens in every sport, but it's really evident here in the Premier League. And then with Arsenal, it's not just Arsenal. Other teams also get that mistreatment. I mean, as an Everton fan, I see it fucking every single week, but it's a lot more high profile with Arsenal because those games matter so much more for title deciding things. And yeah, they're highlighted on social media every single time, and a lot of them look really bad.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely could just be, we have the spotlight on us, and so I feel it more. But it does feel targeted. My final things on this game, we lost this title by 2 points a year ago. 4 months ago, we lost by 2 points, and we dropped 2 points today, and we dropped 2 points a couple weeks ago because of some really interesting refereeing things, similar to what happened last year with Newcastle and Villa too. And if that's just what's going to happen, then that's what's going to happen, and we'll wait for City to get liquidated in April, and we'll celebrate then. But other than that, like, what the fuck else are we supposed to do? So I can't tell you how proud I am of the boys. They fought their ass off. They ran their ass off. People are talking about like, oh, they were time wasting at the end. People who went down had to get subbed off because they were running their ass into the ground. I don't know. I'm really proud of this team. I believe that this team has enough to be able to win the Premier League. I just don't know if we can do it against City and the refs, but obviously a lot left to be said in this season. Proud of the boys.
I mean, they were about 20 seconds away from pulling off one of the better feats in the Premier League recent history of holding this stacked ass Man City squad to nothing in the second half with 10 men. So, I mean, you are very close to a gigantic 3 points there. But, I mean, like you said, maybe going down in April, they have the 116 charges, that the whole thing starting. But in the more immediate sense, Mike, De Bruyne out for this one, which coupled with a lot of the Arsenal people missing, it wasn't too much of a headline. It was people missing on both sides. But Rodri does go down injured in this one, holding his knee. You never want to see the knee being the area of injury. Rodri and De Bruyne, if they miss good amounts of this season, is that the path for other teams to win this? The chinks in the armor for Man City is just injury?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I don't want to minimize the absence of these guys. If it was any other team, it would cripple their season. But it's fucking Man City. And look who they have to take over their places. I mean, Kovacic comes off the bench. They have Gundogan. They got dudes like Mateus Nunes, who they spent $60 million on last year, who have been lost to the bench. I mean, their replacements, no, not quite at the Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne level, but they're really just fine. I mean, Phil Foden hasn't been able to get a game all year because of the form that some of these other dudes have been in.
What a fraud that kid is, by the way. Jesus Christ.
He's been shit recently.
Savinho's just a baller.
Hey, what an absolute deal paying $30 million to yourself to get that guy. Oh my God. That kid's a stud.
I'd pay myself $30 million to get a player like him.
I think it's more concerning if they're going to compete in multiple competitions. Like Champions League could definitely be an issue. I wouldn't expect them to win without both of those guys, let alone, both of them missing, excuse me. Major losses, but they're still stacked. Hopefully they come back soon.
Hopefully they do, and Man City still suck. That would be much more satisfying to watch. Speaking of satisfying to watch, a good amount of this game that we're talking about, Everton-Leicester, was satisfying to watch as a TOFFEE fan until it really wasn't. It's a 1-1 draw here for Everton versus Leicester. Ndiaye getting on the score sheet. He was very obviously Everton's best player in this one, Mike. This is something we pegged as a must-win game, needing points, needing a win. This is a relegation contender that we're playing against, ourselves a relegation contender as well. It's a 6-pointer. It's a huge swing. Had the lead for most of this game. Looked like the better team for most of this game. And as the script goes for Everton, we lose another lead. It's a 1-1 draw here, Mike. Where's your head at from this? Is it encouraging seeing people like Ndiaye and Lindstrom getting in there and Mangala in the midfield I thought looked good?
Oh, Mangala too, yeah.
Is it all just negative? Because it is another lost lead. 3 games in a row with a lost lead. And we sit with just 1 point at the 5th game of the season here.
It's not all negative. It's definitely a mixed bag this week. The nice things, the positive things, the attack, best I've seen them all year. Those 4 guys up top, Lindstrom, Ndiaye, McNeil, and DCL, I thought worked fantastically together. I mean, the interchange was there, some dynamic attack. I thought Ndiaye, every time he got on the ball, was super progressive, was willing to take people on, connected well with McNeil. So I really like that partnership. And we created a bunch of chances. The goal was fantastic, but before that, Lindstrom should have scored. Great ball comes across the box, and he just kind of fluffed his lines. So we could have really been up 2. I thought the attack was fantastic, but the downsides, the other part of the mixed bag, is the same issues we've said all year. I mean, the substitutions were fucking shit. I mean, Sean Dyche does not know how to manage a game. He can't decide between chasing another goal or holding a lead, locking it down. So he makes substitutions that do neither, which is horrible. And you could tell that he didn't know what he was doing when he made them. I thought the back line is still an issue. I mean, they looked okay for most of the match. I thought James Garner did a job at right back outside of his usual position, but with the lack of guys currently, he did fine. And Ashley Young switching over to the left because Mikolenko's out. So good from them. Michael Keane's still terrible. and we conceded a goal in the same way we have like the last 3 matches. Scrappy ball comes into the box. Jordan Pickford's not dominant right now, so he's not grabbing it. And then we get beat in the air on a second, third try. Well, we have a 6'6" center back on the bench who we paid a fuck ton of money for, who's yet to see any real minutes this season. So I can't wrap my head around the Michael Keane thing. I'm going to harp on it until it changes. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can't understand it. Mixed bag. Mangala, we'll talk about him. He was great. I thought hesitant on him after what I saw at Nottingham Forest last year. He was okay. But boss this game. Didn't miss a pass. Was good under pressure. Paired up with Decore well. I'd like to see him and Eric Bunham play together more. I think that could be a good partnership. There are pieces. There are things that are there that indicate success. But dropping another lead is crushing, especially in this fashion. And Sean Dyche is still not inspiring any hope in me.
No, I think Sean Dyche on his thing is, if you're at the Everton board and you're looking at the team, the positives are all the players. And Dye looks good. Big Dom is looking decent now. I mean, you have players somewhat stepping up. Lindstrom has promise. Like we've said, Mangala. You have the players. It seems like, but just like you said, I mean, the only part that he is really in charge of, the thing that he's doing the most, the substitutions and the tactics of closing things out, is where he's getting it wrong. So you have the talent. You must feel somewhat confident that, hey, we have the talent to be doing good things in the league because we have the players that are getting us there. It's the management. It's once you get past just talent, what can the manager do to help out? And Dyche is not doing any of it. I mean, subbing out Ndiaye in this game, I can understand. He might be tired. I can understand whatever. But he is your best player. He is really the entire attack. He was central to almost about everything, him and McNeil. So it's just, I mean, if everything positive is everything that's not exactly the manager, just the players really, and everything negative is on the manager, Nick, is it not give you the confidence if you're Everton's board to say, hey, let's make that switch now, 5 games in, before we're 10 games in a big ass hole and staring relegation in the face?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you guys are right, because I was locked in on this game yesterday. Backed the boys in my lock of the week. Really got to know what it felt like to be a Toffee fan this weekend, because they screwed me. So I'm right there with you.
I'm so sorry for that.
And listen, man, I agree. I think it's Dyche's fault. He has a proven history of doing well in relegation battles. Like he has proven that over years. And so does 5 weeks change what we think about his ability to stave off relegation? I don't think so. And I think that's fair because Sean Dyche is not a hype manager. He is not an early season on the front foot manager. He is scrape out points and get you out of the relegation zone. And if you have enough talent, maybe a little bit more. I think that there are more positives then, because what you said is true. I think there is enough talent. They had more talent than Leicester. That's important in a relegation battle. I think that was pretty evident. They were the better team. You said it the whole time. And what was scaring me the most about Dyche is that he wasn't willing to go to these new guys. Well, we saw these new guys play, and we saw these new guys dominate. The Mangala shot was phenomenal. He didn't put a foot wrong the entire game. I really like this Lindstrom kid. I know he should have scored, but just his movements around the pitch, the way he links up with people, I like what he's doing there. Dom looked like kind of like closer to a Dom that we used to know with actual competent attackers next to him. Maybe like he wasn't as much of the problem, apparently. Who knows? One game, but it sucks you couldn't get the 3 points. You know, I think that's life as a Toffee fan. You just kind of get used to some disappointment at the end there, but ultimately, I do think it is a step in the right direction. The first, I mean, it just looks good not to have a 0 5 weeks into the season next to you. So I am more encouraged for you guys that there seems to be real talent, because I wasn't sure of that at the end of the summer transfer window. We didn't know if these guys could work out. I think that they can. And let's give Deitch some time. I just don't know who else you would bring in 5 weeks in to lose the locker room like that. I don't think he's done that. It seems like the board is backing him too. There doesn't really seem to be hot seat rumors out there outside of this podcast. So I think you give him some time. I think you give him some time, and I'm excited to see what happens, Mike.
I think his job is safe. He has earned the respect. We can't forget that, especially with what he did last year. Unprecedented. Saving us after being deducted with points. That was none of his fault, but he was a hero for saving us regardless. So definitely has my respect in that regard. Yeah, his rope is burning, but there's still some length to it. So, I mean, I'd give him a bit more time. It's not a 5-week kind of thing. But if we get to that 10-week and it's not looking like any changes are
You're
coming
going to
around,
wait until a third of the season is complete to see anything?
Well, it's not like these other teams are like picking up points at a rapid pace. You're 2 points out of relegation. You have 1 point and you're only 2 points out of relegation.
He's saved by everybody else also being shit at the bottom.
I think so, yeah.
That's generally how relegation works.
Have we ever just
in.
thought that Sean Deitch is only good in a relegation battle, so he's doing a speed run to the relegation battle here? He's like, the way that I can get the boys to perform is get to a spot where we need every point in a relegation scrap in the 5th week. Let's lose
Flags,
all
you'd
the
get rid of him
boys.
then? You'd get rid of him, Flags?
I would be reaching out to other managers, yeah. I would see what those options are. Like you said, you need to figure out what those options are. I think at this point, you have to have the sporting director reaching out to people and saying, hey, what are our options here? Because Sean Deitch, yes, you can respect him for what he's done with Burnley in the past, what he did with Everton, saving us last season. But you also don't want to just be like, hey, but he was good, and ignore what you're obviously seeing with your own 2 eyes this season until you're in a hole too deep to really be dug out of. I don't know. I think you have to reach out at this point. I think
I see what you're saying.
Minimal.
I think that would stir unrest in the team, though, and I mean, inevitably that gets.
I mean, you're not reaching out to the players and be like, "Hey, we're thinking about firing them. What you think?"
Know anyone?
I just think sporting director with some relationships with agents is going to say, "Hey, what does he think about Everton?" Nothing official. Just hey, what does he think? Would he at all be interested? Get a short list of people that you could reach out to. Some type of interest. I think that's what you have to do.
Southgate.
Get us in a tournament, goddammit.
About Everton before we leave them. Big Jared Branthwaite played with the U21s today and went a full 90. So his return is imminent. We need him back there. No more Michael Keane, please. Big Jared back in the back line.
Big, yeah. That'd be big.
Maybe that's what the board's waiting for is Judge Deitch once he has Branthwaite back and
Nathan Patterson too, but we don't care that much about Nathan Patterson.
Nathan Patterson's coming back. We're saved. Boys, let's run through the rest of the Premier League here. We start with none other than Manchester United. The Red Devils with a 0-0 draw versus Crystal Palace. What a beautiful result that is. Chris Richards, U.S. center back, getting the start in that one. Crystal Palace having quite the awful season, and Manchester United not able to capitalize on that one. Chelsea with a 3-0 win over West Ham. Chelsea might be looking good this season, and I'll tell you who is looking good. Need to give him a shout out. Nico Jackson with 2 goals and then slaloming through the defense before handing it off to Cole Palmer. 2 goals and assist.
Thriller.
He's starting to develop, boys. Speaking of developing, Aston Villa down 1-0 for most of this game to Wolves. But of course, if you have John Duran on your bench, you know you're at least getting one from him. If you have Ollie Watkins, you're getting one from him. It just comes too easy. It's a 3-1 result for Aston Villa, helping out Everton by just shitting on another one of these relegation candidates in Wolves. Fulham with a 3-1 win versus Newcastle, or should I say Arsenal 2.0.
Yeah.
Maybe Arsenal Junior getting the win over Newcastle here. Iwobi with an assist in this one. ESR with a goal. And Reece Nelson getting a to be fair, a gifted goal.
Easiest goal.
Newcastle
They all count.
passed it to him inside the box with 0 defenders around him. It is
So bad.
absurd how easy that one was. But Newcastle with their first loss there with a drubbing there, the hands of Fulham. Tottenham get a 3-1 win over Brentford. Brentford scores within 25 seconds again, and again they lose. They need to do something about the rest of the 89 minutes and 40 seconds. Because if they can continue playing like they do in the first 20 seconds, they're going to be something to beat. Also, boys, thoughts on James Maddison taking off his shirt to celebrate the 3rd goal. So already winning. And he's not even shirtless. He has an undershirt on. He takes off his shirt to still have on a compression shirt. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Southampton had what they thought was a win versus Ipswich, and then in the death, the Ipswich boys, they get their bounce off of the corner, volley out, deflection, ugly goal, but it goes top bins off a deflection. You can't teach that. Never count them out. So they share points. They end up losing 2 points there, Southampton. And then, of course, the game of the week, Mike dubbed, because it was going to be a quote-unquote stinker, ended up being a pretty good game here, Mike. Brighton, Nottingham Forest, 2-2. Massive equalizer by Nottingham Forest. They are level on points with Brighton, both of them off to some hot starts, but nothing to get between them here. And then Liverpool knocking out Bournemouth 3-0. Lucho Diaz with a brace in this one. And then Darwizzi with the little curler past Kepa of all people in net. Don't look now, but Luis Diaz is second in the Golden Boot race. Unfortunately, he will never be first because Erling Haaland is double what Luis Diaz is in second at 5 goals. Mike, what game or moment from these games caught your eye?
Fulham, massive win. I think they've had a huge turnaround. I thought they looked like one of the worst teams in the league on match day 1. And that has completely changed in a matter of weeks. I think Marco Silva's a great manager. I think a bunch of these new signings they brought in are great. Make sense, bolster up that attack, which is an issue area, and their youth. So good for the future. That's the one I had my eye on this week.
Nick, what about you? What caught your eye?
Yeah, as always, shout out to the Hale End boys who are out there killing it in the Prem. But listen, Aston Villa, coming back, they were trailing most of that game. I know Wolves aren't like their record, or they're last in the league right now, but I think that team actually has talent. I've said it a couple times on here. They're not going to be down in the bottom 3 for too long. I believe that strongly. But Villa just keeps coming back from deficits, coming back and winning games. I think it's showing some mentality from Unai Emery's boys. I knew they were talented, but I thought they were a bit written off from, top 4. I didn't really expect it like a repeat performance, but I think they're showing some mentality right now, and they could very well be a team that finishes top 4 again. In fact, maybe we should start considering them favorites to finish top 4 again.
I mean, they have a lot of ballers on that squad. I mean, Ollie Watkins, John Durant, just at the striker position alone, and then Morgan Rogers has been amazing for them this season.
Sick.
Oh, Nana comes in and he's scoring hella goals for them too from
Jacob Ramsey
attacking. Yeah, I mean, shit, they got some depth there. I mean, would you take Aston Villa over Chelsea as the favorite for top 4?
And Spurs, both of them, I think.
Yeah, I feel like
over Spurs easy.
I would.
The Chelsea one's a little closer, but I'd take Villa at the moment.
Hey, what about Chelsea, man? But finally coming together a little bit, huh?
3-0 over West Ham. That's big.
Is this Chelsea finally coming out of it, or West Ham is just the most overhyped team of all time?
I don't know. West Ham looked terrible.
I mean, again, they look terrible.
Yeah. They haven't looked good once this season.
Not once. They've looked bad a lot.
And I was
Chelsea,
waiting for them to look good.
No, yikes.
Dudush needs to get up out of there, bro. That kid's a baller.
Yeah, come to Everton.
He is absurd. Yeah.
For sure.
Man U.
I mean,
Sucks.
Sucks. oh,
Best,
really
as
quick
we know.
before we move, Lissandro Martinez. That's a red, right? I don't care if he makes contact or not.
He needs
That
to
is a
prove that.
red. Oh my!
crazy.
How do you just jump in like that? He looked like a munchkin. That was insane. Oh my
That is
god!
such
To
a
go
Martinez
in-
tackle.
Studs up, 2-footed. Even though
Oh
he
my
didn't
God.
end Kamada's career, he should be punished. There should be some type of suspension because to go 2-foot studs up
It's
into a
insane.
man just because you don't end his career should not be the only reason he goes without punishment. That was absurd.
There is no way that you can write that up like, oh, he was trying to make a tackle, right? There is like he was trying to murder
No.
someone. Like, oh my god!
I saw someone on Twitter said this has to be racist, and I'm inclined to agree because that was a hateful tackle. There was malice behind that. Like, holy shit!
He
That
is
guy's a legend.
Argentinian. and as we know with Enzo, there is
Before you
a history.
Man, you too. Can we talk about how the fact Eric Ten Hag played Marcus Rashford into form, finally had him scoring goals, and then
And then
put his
benched
ass
him?
on the bench?
Yeah.
What? To start Ahmed Diallo and Garnacho?
Love it. Future of Argentina, actually.
It's called man management. Also, speaking
Almost scored a
more on wingers for Manchester United, Jadon Sancho getting another assist for Chelsea, 2 assists in 2 games.
Good for him.
Maybe it wasn't Jadon Sancho that was the issue. Who would have
Maybe it
thought? Who would have thought? We move to our U.S. men's national team corner, and there's nowhere you can start other than our boy Christian Pulisic in the Milan derby, coming off of a goal against Liverpool, coming off of a goal and assist in his last Serie A game. How does he respond to all this? With another goal, a solo run through 4 defenders on Inter to open the scoring early for Milan en route to their 2-1 win in this one. Boys, he's the top goal contributor of Serie A at this point. He's scored or assisted in 5 straight games for club. He's scoring against the likes of Liverpool and Inter Milan, and not just goals of tap-ins off rebounds, but dribble runs for both of these ones. Is this, Mike, and you're wearing the Milan kit, is this the best Christian Pulisic we have ever seen?
Oh, yeah. This is world beater Christian Pulisic. I mean, we've seen flashes. He's always been a great player, but to actually have the stats to back it up, that was always one thing that he lacked a little bit. But he's banging in goals. And back-to-back weeks, great goals. I mean, shrugs off 2-3 dudes on the dribble, slots home. This is special. This is different. This is the form I hope he keeps up throughout the rest of the season and throughout the rest of the next couple of years, because we get a 2026 Pulisic playing like this. Scary hours. Scary hours.
Yeah. I mean, Nick, the case for Pulisic, really both internationally and club, is if the rest of the team can figure out performance and go well with him constantly giving them 1-0 leads, they could go pretty far here. Milan allowed Inter to respond, end up getting the 2-1 win. Probably could have been like 3 or 4 for AC Milan if they understood how to pass on 3v1 breakaways. But how important is it that AC Milan have success for Christian Pulisic to continue this run of form, you think?
Not important at all. I don't give a shit about Milan does. And Milan's my favorite Italian team, but I don't care. Listen, it is insane. His skill to attack spaces centrally and like instantly attack spaces centrally is what makes him a really special player. And we've seen it 2 weeks in a row now with these dribble runs that end up in goals. What you love more than anything is that if you look at Poch's teams, he puts his stars in positions to succeed. And so, I mean, you look at those Tottenham teams that let's be real, that's what he's known for. It was that Tottenham team. That's where he got all this recognition and everything else. Son, Eriksen, and Kane were running the show the entire time. There was no one else. And so Pulisic is going to be put front and center a lot. He's going to be put in good positions, and he's showing that he has the class, the talent, and everything else needed in order to capitalize on it. I think this means nothing but good things for the United States men's national team, and I'm finally starting to feel optimistic after what was a really brutal summer.
Well, I mean, you even saw with Chelsea last season, he made that team all around Cole Palmer and his talent. And if he can do something similar with Christian Pulisic, where, hey, everything else might not be 100% there, but if you can just squeeze all the talent you can out of Christian Pulisic and have him lead the team, when you saw Cole Palmer went crazy for Chelsea last season, can you do the same with Christian Pulisic in that same type of system, maybe for the US? But Christian Pulisic, not the only person to get a goal. One of the most needed goals. I was so happy to see this. Florian Balogun getting on the score sheet for Monaco, getting the third goal in Monaco's 3-1 win this weekend. Massive for him to start getting some form. He looked good in his performance to that point. Looked good in the Champions League substitute appearance where he was a part in winning a penalty that then was not taken, and then also made a good run to get the guy free for the winner. But God, it's so different to score a goal when you're strikers. That's really all that does matter. So huge for Balogun getting that. And Malik Tillman, once again, just is a step above the Eredivisie. Scores a brace for PSV. One of those being a beauty of a free kick. This now means he has 4 goals and an assist in just 6 games here in the Eredivisie. Certainly looking to continue that form and probably get a big move here in the summer. Busio, an interesting goal here. He crossed one in. It kind of just dribbled in because the goalie wasn't kind of paying attention or didn't think it would come through. But it's a goal nonetheless, the man of the match. And just watching him, he's looked good. He looked very good against Milan at points. He looked very good in this game, man of the match performance. And it begged the question, and I put this on the Footy with the Boys Twitter. Boys, is Busio in a better situation or is Musa in a better situation? Musa was an unused sub today in the Milan derby. Most of the time he's getting about 15 to 20 minutes per game, sometimes a little bit more, certain starts every now and then, but not that much play time. Busio is one of the stars of this Venezia team, constantly playing, constantly relied on. Are you worried about Musa's situation, and would you rather have him be in a situation like Busio where he's playing nonstop, Mike?
No, I'm not too worried about it. He hasn't been like lost to the bench where he's not featuring at all. It's not a Gio Reyna situation. And there's going to be chances for him throughout the year with them playing in multiple competitions, high volume of games, and not like locked in starters in that midfield. A lot of dudes come in and out. I mean, yeah, the new signings probably will continue to play. I think there's still opportunity. I think it'll be a fine situation. And I still think playing at that level of club that has Champions League football is a better situation than being at a Venezia.
Do you think that's an overarching problem Musa has and a lot of the American players have now? Is I know there's been a lot of comparison because Thierry Henry was comparing the 2002 and 2010 teams or Landon Donovan's old teams with the current teams. Do you think because all those players, albeit at smaller clubs, were playing nonstop compared to the players now who are in much bigger clubs? I mean, talking about 5 people playing in a Champions League game, you can't knock that. But the play time, it's just not the same. They're not playing full 90s all the time. Is that maybe one of the biggest hurdles for U.S. soccer is get these players where they're playing 90 minutes rather than these 20 minutes, but at bigger clubs?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, playing time is a thing, but I want to see these players at high caliber clubs. I want to see them playing in the Champions League. I don't think it grows the game to have them playing in non-top 5 leagues or bottom.
I'm not saying non-top 5 leagues, but let's say Musa goes to Parma, or he goes to Bologna, or he goes to Genoa, or someplace that
Bologna's in the Champions League. Damn, what a shot!
Yeah, but I'm saying not the top team.
Never will be again.
They're a good team, and I think they've looked good. Same as Parma. I think a lot of these teams have looked very good. But is it a team that's not Milan, who's bringing in 3 new midfielders every summer, that he can play? He is the guy. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be the guy, then be the guy. Make it so that they don't buy new people. So raise your level. I agree with Mike mostly, but also I think Busio's in a good spot too. He might be a little bit overexposed in Venezia. You worry about that, especially with a young player, but also he's playing a ton, and that's going to help him in his development. I think more than anything, the league is what's most important, kind of like what you touched on, Flags. If you're not getting frozen out, he's still getting 20 minutes a game, like you said, or most games, getting some spot starts. I don't hate that spot for Musa. And I think he's good enough to be at a club like Milan. I think he's good enough to start some important games for a club like Milan at his best. So, yeah, I'm okay with both situations. My main takeaway, a very funny Busio goal.
Very funny.
Busio.
Side note, by the way, this kid is saucy. Putting that out there.
What kid?
Busio?
Yeah, this one.
Oh, yeah, he's nuts. I love him.
Yeah.
But the
Those
kid.
Before you
Nice
leave it,
kids,
Flags,
too.
I want to double down. Nick said something there. Fight for it. Yeah, be the guy. I think that's a huge thing. And that goes back to the mentality of the United States men's national team, something that's not there currently and that we want to see. Fight for that position. Nothing should be guaranteed. Maybe he's not getting a fair shot as an American. I don't see that. I've seen it in other situations. I don't see that here. You just got to step your game up.
Yep. I mean, speaking of fight for it, Weston McKennie, what the fuck is going on at Juventus? He was frozen out, and now he's starting the Champions League, scoring and starting this weekend for them in Serie A. I mean, absurd what Weston McKennie is doing. He is like a termite, or a cockroach. You can't kill him. He just does not go away, this guy.
It's eating wood, baby.
It's cockroach, right? That can't die. Also, boys, some good news. JT Batson has done plenty of interviews, kind of alluding to some good friendlies they're having set up because every big team wants to play in America before the World Cup. One of those is England. We could have a matchup with those fish and chips merchants in June of 2025. That will depend on some Nations League shit and some World Cup qualifying stuff. So it's not confirmed, but they are getting that one in the plan. So a good matchup there. How important is it with 10 international windows that we fill those friendlies with teams like in England, France, Netherlands, all these crazy teams, so that we're not playing and respect to them because they beat us and drew us, Canada and New Zealand.
Massive. This is exactly what we want. We need more big games. And as a fan, this is exactly what I want. I hate watching us play fucking the same CONCACAF teams over and over again. It's hard to get excited about playing.
You don't want to see us play Honduras again?
No, man. Respect to Honduras. That's fun every once in a while, but I'm getting amped if we're playing Argentina, if we're playing Netherlands, if we're playing a giant. That's super exciting. That's exactly what we need.
I think we learned a lot more from the Colombia and Brazil games than we did with
we
Canada and New Zealand and really every other friendly we've played. But boys, let's get into our shout out of the week here to close this one out. Mike, we will start with you. Who is your shout out of the week, or what is your shout out of the week?
Iliman Ndiaye from Everton, of course. First Premier League goal. Well done, man. Hell of a performance. Wasn't so sure about him. Little suspect on the transfer when it happened, but it's been excellent so far in the Everton shirt. And the other one is super Pulisic because that dude is doing it. He's doing it all right now.
He is him. Nick,
Certainly.
Who's your shout out of the week?
My shout out of the week goes to the return of some little hatred amongst rivals. I think that Arsenal Man City game today was a little chippy, a little, it ended up being a red card for the stupidest reason, but I enjoyed the vitriol between the boys. There were some coming togethers, Havertz in the very beginning, Haaland running through people. I'm here for it. Just get up, yell at each other, put your chest out at each other and get back to ball. It feels like there's some real hatred between these two teams, which in a world where everyone is shaking hands and taking Instagram photos together, I like that our title rivals are mad or angry. Did Haaland take it too far by throwing a ball at Gabriel's face while right after scoring? Who knows? But it was a good clip nonetheless, and I'm here for it. So shout out to a little bit of hate, a little bit of spice back in these rivalry games.
Yeah, I love that. And off of that, I'm going to change my shout of the week. I went Bay Packers here because being an Everton fan, I need at least one sports team that's doing well. But I'm going to say the teammates of AC Milan, because in that game against Inter, Christian Pulisic got pushed down and they immediately just jumped the guy that pushed him. There's intensity. They're pushing around. They defend their teammates. Take some notes, U.S. men's national team players. When Pulisic gets hacked at and kicked at,
Seriously.
go lay somebody out. Let's get some Fred Warner type middle linebacker action out there to some random Panamanian in that first game. Palmer, close us out with your shout out of the week.
My shout out is to the CU Buffalo team. I was up in Boulder last night to watch them play Baylor, and big atmosphere, big game. Came to OT with a fucking electric moment at the end to finish the game. It's a good time. So shout out those guys.
Shout out those guys. Boys, that's all we have. Mike, as you so eloquently do, let our listeners know what they need to remember until our next episode.
Well, they got to remember to like, subscribe, sound off in the comments, all of that jazz. Arsenal fans, Everton fans, Chicago Bears fans. It's tough.
Bears.
But the offense is coming around a little bit. 363 yards from young Caleb Williams. When's the last time we've thrown for that many? I don't know. A couple of picks, we don't talk about those. A couple of draws, we don't talk about those. We're back up the toffs, bear down. Until next week.
Peace.